The vast emptiness of space was broken by a massive ship. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The ship was as big as a small moon, its surface covered in strange symbols and pulsing with an eerie blue light. This was the flagship of the Galactic Empire, and it carried Emperor Zaxnor himself. As the ship entered Earth's orbit, every screen on the planet flickered to life. TVs, computers, even billboards in Times Square, all showed the same image. It was a creature that looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was a pale green, its eyes too large and entirely black. This was Emperor Zaxnor, ruler of most of the known galaxy. People of Earth, the Emperor's voice boomed in perfect English, though his mouth moved strangely. I am Emperor Zaxnor of the Galactic Empire. We have watched your planet for centuries, waiting for you to reach a level of technology that would make you worthy of our attention. That day has come. All over the world, people stopped what they were doing. In New York, crowds gathered in the streets, looking up at the giant screens. In Tokyo, families huddled around their TVs. In a small village in Africa, people listened on old radios. Everyone was hearing the same message. You have two choices, Zaxnor continued. Join our empire peacefully, or face destruction. If you join us, you must dismantle your military and surrender all your advanced technology. In return, you will receive our protection and a place in our galactic community. In the White House, the President of the United States sat with his advisors, their faces pale with shock. In Beijing, the leaders of China held an emergency meeting. In Moscow, the Russian president barked orders to his generals. You have 24 hours to make your decision, Zaxnor said. If we do not receive your unconditional surrender by then, we will have no choice but to consider Earth a hostile planet. And I assure you, you do not want to be our enemy. As the transmission ended, chaos erupted worldwide. People ran through the streets in panic. Others rushed to stores, buying all the food and supplies they could. Some even started to build bunkers, fearing the worst. In a secret underground facility, the world's top leaders gathered in an emergency meeting. The room was tense, filled with the most powerful people on Earth, all looking scared and unsure. We can't possibly fight them, the French president said, his voice shaking. You saw their ship. It's more advanced than anything we have. But we can't just surrender either, the British Prime Minister argued. We'd be giving up everything we've built, everything we are. The debate raged on for hours. Some wanted to surrender, hoping to save lives. Others wanted to fight, even if it seemed hopeless. As the argument went back and forth, the U.S. president stood up, silencing the room. I think we all know we can't surrender, he said quietly. Yes, we might lose. We might be destroyed. But we've faced impossible odds before. We've overcome threats that seemed unbeatable. We are humanity. We don't give up, and we don't surrender. One by one, the other leaders nodded. They knew the president was right. Humanity had faced extinction before. From ice ages, from plagues, from their own weapons. Each time, they had survived. They had thrived. As the 24-hour deadline approached, the leaders of Earth made their decision. They would not surrender. They would fight, even if it seemed hopeless. The U.S. president stood before a global audience, his face set in determination. To Emperor Zaxnor and the Galactic Empire, he said, his voice strong and clear, "We, the people of Earth, have heard your ultimatum. And our answer is this: we will not surrender. We will not give up our freedom, our way of life, or our planet. If you want Earth, you'll have to fight for it." As he finished speaking, a cheer went up around the world. In every city, in every country, people clapped and shouted. They were scared, yes, but they were also proud. They were human, and they would not go down without a fight. In his massive ship, Emperor Zaxnor received the humans' response. He had expected them to surrender. He had thought they would be too afraid to resist. Now, as he ordered his fleet to prepare for war, He felt a flicker of doubt. These humans were braver than he had thought. Could they be stronger too? As Earth prepared for war and the Galactic Empire's ships moved into attack position, one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same again. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a secret lab that didn't officially exist, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her computer screen. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they sparkled with excitement. "I think we've done it," she whispered to herself. For the past 5 years, Dr. Chen and her team had been working on a project so secret that even most world leaders didn't know about it. They called it the Quantum Entanglement Drive, or QED for short. It was supposed to be humanity's next great leap in space travel. Now it might be their only hope for survival. "Dr. Chen," a voice called. It was General Williams, the military liaison to the project. "The president is on his way. He wants to know if we have anything that can help us fight the aliens." Sarah took a deep breath. "Tell him we might just have a miracle." An hour later, the president stood in the lab, surrounded by the world's top scientists and military leaders. Sarah explained the QED as simply as she could. "It uses quantum entanglement to move a ship instantly from one point in space to another," she said. "No travel time, no light speed limit. You're just there." The president frowned. "That's impossible, isn't it? 6 months ago, I would have said yes," Sarah replied. "But we've done it. We've moved small objects across the lab. With a little more time, we think we can scale it up to work on ships." "How long?" the president asked. Sarah hesitated. "Under normal circumstances, I'd say a year. But with the aliens coming, maybe we can do it in a month." The room erupted in arguments. Some said it was impossible. Others said they had no choice but to try. The president raised his hand for silence. "Dr. Chen," he said, "you have 1 month. Every resource you need is yours. Just make it work." For the next 4 weeks, Sarah and her team worked around the clock. They barely slept, barely ate. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and they felt every ounce of that weight. While they worked, the rest of the world prepared for war. Factories that once made cars now produced tanks and fighter jets. People who had never held a gun learned to shoot. Everyone, everywhere, got ready to fight. In space, the Galactic Empire's fleet grew larger every day. More and more ships arrived, forming a ring around Earth. They were waiting, watching, preparing to strike. Back in the secret lab, Sarah's team faced failure after failure. The QED worked on small objects, but every time they tried to scale it up, something went wrong. Ships exploded. Test pilots disappeared, never to be seen again. With 1 week left before the Empire's deadline, Sarah was losing hope. She hadn't slept in 3 days, and her hand shook as she worked. "Maybe we should give up," one of her team members said. "Maybe it's impossible." Sarah was about to agree when suddenly she saw something, a pattern in the data that she had missed before. "Wait," she said, her tired brain coming alive. "I think I've got it." For the next week, Sarah and her team worked harder than ever. They'd rebuilt the QED from the ground up, using Sarah's new insight. On the day before the Empire's deadline, they were ready for a final test. A small ship, piloted by a brave volunteer, sat ready in the lab's testing area. If this worked, humanity might have a chance. If it failed, well, they'd all be dead soon anyway. Sarah's hand hovered over the launch button. The whole room held its breath. She closed her eyes and pressed the button. There was a flash of light, a sound like thunder, and then nothing. The ship was gone. For a moment, everyone stood in shocked silence. Then, a voice crackled over the radio. "This is Test Pilot Johnson. I'm in orbit around Mars." It worked. It really worked. The room exploded in cheers. People hugged, cried, laughed. Sarah felt tears running down her face as she realized what they had done. Within hours, the QED plans were sent to shipyards around the world. Every ship that could be fitted with the drive was being upgraded. It wasn't much. Earth's fleet was still tiny compared to the Empire's, but now they had a chance. As the Empire's deadline approached, humanity prepared for war. But now, they had a secret weapon. The Galactic Empire thought they were facing a primitive, easy target. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. In her lab, Sarah looked at the QED one last time before heading to the war room. "Let's show them what humans can do," she said softly. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The silence of space was suddenly broken by a flash of light. A massive ship, easily the size of a small city, appeared near Jupiter. It was followed by another, then another. Within minutes, a fleet of 50 Galactic Empire ships had arrived in the solar system. On Earth, alarms blared in every military command center. The long-awaited attack had begun. In the White House Situation Room, the president leaned over a holographic display of the solar system. Red dots representing the Empire's ships were moving steadily towards Earth. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. "At their current speed, about 6 hours, Mr. President," a general replied. The president nodded grimly. "Then it's time." Launch Operation Slingshot. Across the globe, in hidden bases and secret launch pads, Earth's defenders sprang into action. Ships that had been hastily fitted with the new quantum entanglement drive powered up. Pilots, their faces a mix of fear and determination, strapped themselves in. Among them was Captain Michael Rodriguez. He sat in the cockpit of the U.S. Defiant, Earth's most advanced spaceship. Even with the QED, it was tiny compared to the Empire's vessels. But size wasn't everything. "All ships. This is Gold Leader," Michael said into his radio. "Remember your training. Use the QED to hit and run. Don't let them pin you down. Good luck, and Godspeed." With that, Michael activated his QED. There was a moment of disorientation, and suddenly he was looking at the Empire's fleet up close. The massive ships loomed before him, their hulls covered in strange, glowing symbols. For a moment, nothing happened. The Empire ships seemed not to notice the tiny Earth vessels that had appeared among them. Then, all hell broke loose. The Defiant fired its main cannon, a beam of energy so bright it was painful to look at. It struck the nearest Empire ship, cutting a deep gash in its hull. Before the Empire could respond, Michael activated the QED again, vanishing from sight. All around the Empire fleet, the scene repeated itself. Earth ships appeared out of nowhere, fired, and disappeared again. The Empire, caught completely by surprise, struggled to respond. On the bridge of the Imperial flagship, Admiral Zorn watched in disbelief as his ships reported hit after hit. "Impossible," he muttered. "How are they doing this? Where did they get this technology?" He barked orders, trying to organize a defense, but the humans were too quick, too unpredictable. Every time his ships locked onto a target, it vanished, only to reappear somewhere else. Back on the Defiant, Michael allowed himself a small smile. The plan was working. The Empire's superior numbers meant nothing if they couldn't hit their targets. But the Empire was learning. Their ships began to move in tighter formations, covering each other's blind spots. Energy shields flickered to life, deflecting some of Earth's attacks. "All ships, be careful," Michael warned. "They're adapting. Don't get cocky." As if to emphasize his point, a nearby Earth ship stayed in one place a moment too long. An Empire beam caught it, vaporizing it instantly. Michael gritted his teeth. They were winning, but at a cost. How long could they keep this up? The battle raged for hours. Earth ships darted in and out of reality, striking and vanishing. Empire ships, despite their size and power, found themselves unable to land a solid hit on their elusive opponents. Finally, Admiral Zorn had seen enough. "All ships, retreat," he ordered. "Fall back to the rendezvous point. We need to regroup and rethink our strategy." As the Empire ships began to withdraw, a cheer went up among the Earth fleet. They had done it. They had won the first battle. But Michael didn't join in the celebration. He knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would be back, and next time, they'd be ready for Earth's tricks. As the Defiant headed back to Earth, Michael looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Empire was licking its wounds and planning its next move. The war had only just begun. On Earth, news of the victory spread like wildfire. People danced in the streets, hugged strangers, cried tears of joy and relief. For the first time since the Empire arrived, there was hope. In the White House, the President addressed the nation. "Today, we have shown the galaxy what humanity is capable of," he said. "We have faced an overwhelming force and emerged victorious. But this is only the first battle of many. Stay strong, stay united. Together, we will defend our home." As night fell on Earth, its people slept a little easier. But in space, the stars watched silently, waiting for the next move in this cosmic chess game. The Galactic Empire had been bloodied, but not beaten, and humanity's fight for survival was far from over. Emperor Zaxanor's face was a mask of fury as he watched the holographic replay of the battle. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Galactic Empire, had been humiliated by a bunch of primitives from a backwater planet. "How?" he roared, his voice echoing through the throne room. "How did they do this?" Admiral Zorn, still nursing wounds from the battle, stepped forward. "They have some kind of instantaneous travel technology, Your Highness. Our sensors couldn't track them. They appeared, attacked, and vanished before we could respond." Zaxanor's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Such technology is beyond them." "Evidently not, Your Highness," Zorn replied, careful to keep his tone respectful. "We underestimated them. It won't happen again." The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, a cruel smile spread across his face. "No, it won't. Because this time, we're going to crush them, utterly and completely." He turned to his war council. "Prepare the Armada. All of it. We're going to show these humans the true might of the Galactic Empire." Across the galaxy, ships began to move. Not just warships, but planet crackers, star eaters, vessels of such immense power that their mere presence could cause solar systems to tremble. The Empire was bringing its full might to bear. Back on Earth, the celebration of their first victory was short-lived. Dr. Sarah Chen, the genius behind the quantum entanglement drive, was poring over data from the battle when she noticed something alarming. "Oh no," she whispered. She immediately called for an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. In the White House Situation Room, Sarah explained her findings. "The QED leaves a trace," she said. "A quantum signature. It's faint, but with enough sensors and processing power." "They could track our ships," the President finished, his face grim, "even when they jump." Sarah nodded. "And that's not all. Look at this." She pulled up a galactic map. Hundreds of thousands of dots were moving, all converging on one point: Earth. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Their victory had enraged the Empire. Now, they were bringing everything they had. "How long do we have?" someone asked. "At their current speed, about a week," Sarah replied. "Maybe less if they have faster ships they haven't used yet." The President stood up, his face set with determination. "Then we have work to do. Dr. Chen, can you find a way to mask the QED signature?" Sarah hesitated. "Maybe, but it'll take time." "Do what you can," the President said. "The rest of you, we need to prepare. Call up every reserve. Activate every weapon. We're facing the fight of our lives." As Earth prepared for the coming storm, Captain Michael Rodriguez was leading a scouting mission to the edge of the solar system. His ship, the Defiant, was the first to spot the incoming armada. "My God," he breathed as he saw the endless sea of ships. There were so many that they blotted out the stars. "Earth Command, this is the Defiant. You're not going to believe this." He transmitted the images back to Earth. In command centers around the world, Leaders watched in horror as they saw the true scale of the threat they faced. But humanity wasn't about to give up. In shipyards around the world, workers raced to outfit more ships with the QED. In secret labs, scientists worked around the clock, looking for new weapons, new defenses. And in homes and shelters across the globe, ordinary people prepared as best they could. They stockpiled food, dug bunkers, said prayers to whatever gods they believed in. As the armada drew closer, Earth's defenders took up their positions. The QED-equipped ships formed the first line of defense, ready to use their hit-and-run tactics. Behind them, every missile, every cannon, every weapon humanity had was aimed at the sky. In his flagship, Emperor Zaxnor looked down at the blue planet. "Last chance, humans," he said, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Surrender now, and I may spare your miserable lives." In the White House, the president received the message. He looked around at his advisors, at the men and women who had fought so hard to get them this far. Then he leaned forward and pressed the broadcast button. "Emperor Zaxnor," he said, his voice calm and clear, "on behalf of the people of Earth, I have a message for you and your empire." He paused, allowing the tension to build. Then, with a hint of a smile, he delivered humanity's response. "Bring it on." As the words echoed across the comm channels, both sides prepared for battle. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The Empire's armada versus humanity's ingenuity and determination. The greatest battle in Earth's history was about to begin. The vastness of space erupted into chaos as the Empire's armada clashed with Earth's defenders. The darkness was split by the flash of weapons fire and the glow of explosions. It was a battle unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Michael Rodriguez gritted his teeth as he piloted the Defiant through the mayhem. The QED drive hummed, ready to jump at a moment's notice. "All ships, stick to the plan." He barked into the comm. "Hit and run. Don't let them pin you down." Earth's ships blinked in and out of existence, appearing just long enough to fire before vanishing again. But the Empire was ready this time. Their ships moved in complex patterns, covering each other's blind spots. Energy fields flickered, absorbing some of the humans' attacks. On the bridge of his flagship, Emperor Zaxnor watched the battle unfold with growing frustration. "Where is the planet Cracker?" he demanded. "Bring it to the front." A massive ship, easily 10 times the size of the others, began to move forward. Its front opened like a terrible maw, revealing a weapon that could shatter worlds. Dr. Sarah Chen, watching from Earth's command center, saw the danger immediately. "They're positioning a planet killer," she shouted. "We have to stop it." The president turned to her, his face grim. "How? Our weapons barely scratched their smaller ships." Sarah's mind raced. Then her eyes widened. "The QED," she said. "We could use it to teleport something inside their ship. Like a nuclear warhead." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was a desperate plan, but they were out of options. "Do it," the president ordered. Within minutes, a plan was formulated. The Defiant, being the most advanced ship, would carry the warhead. They would need to get close enough to the planet Cracker to calculate a precise jump. As Michael received the orders, he felt a mix of fear and determination. "Understood," he said simply. "We'll get it done." The Defiant weaved through the battle, taking hit after hit as it approached the massive planet Cracker. Alarms blared in the cockpit as systems failed. "We're not going to survive another direct hit," his second-in-command warned. Michael nodded. "We only need one more jump." As they neared their target, the planet Cracker turned its attention to them. A beam of energy lanced out, narrowly missing the Defiant. "Now!" Michael yelled. The QED activated. There was a moment of disorientation, and suddenly they were inside the planet Cracker. Michael had aimed for a cargo hold, but they'd appeared in what looked like an engine room. "Close enough," he muttered. "Everyone out. Back to the escape pods." As his crew scrambled, Michael armed the warhead. He was about to leave when he noticed a panel nearby. It showed the ship's power distribution. With a grim smile, he rerouted all power to the section they were in. The warhead would do more damage this way. Alarms blared as the Empire's crew realized something was wrong. But it was too late. Michael reached the escape pod just as the warhead detonated. The explosion was contained within the planet cracker's shields, tearing it apart from the inside. As the massive ship broke apart, a cheer went up from the human fleet. The tide of battle had turned. Inspired by the Defiant's success, other Earth ships began to use similar tactics. They jumped into the Empire's larger ships, causing chaos and destruction from within. Emperor Zaxnor watched in disbelief as his mighty armada began to crumble. These humans were using their inferior technology in ways he'd never imagined. "Pull back," he ordered, his voice shaking with rage. "All ships, retreat." As the Empire's forces began to withdraw, Earth's defenders pressed their advantage. Ships that had hidden in the shadows of planets and asteroids now joined the fight, catching the retreating Empire vessels in a deadly crossfire. Back on Earth, people watched in awe as the battle unfolded on their screens. Against all odds, humanity was winning. In the command center, the president turned to Dr. Chen. "You did it, Sarah," he said softly. "Your invention saved us all." Sarah shook her head. "It wasn't just me," she replied. "It was all of us. Our technology, our tactics, our spirit. We all did this." As the last of the Empire's ships fled the solar system, a great cheer went up around the world. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious. But even as they celebrated, Earth's leaders knew this was just the beginning. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. The Empire would be back, and next time, they'd be even more desperate. For now, though, Earth could breathe easy. They had proven to the galaxy that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and they would be ready for whatever came next. The aftermath of the great battle left the galaxy in shock. News of the Empire's defeat spread like wildfire across the stars. On countless worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes whispered in awe about the small blue planet that had defied the mighty Galactic Empire. In the Imperial Palace on the Empire's capital world, Emperor Zaxnor paced furiously. His advisors cowered before him, afraid to speak. "How?" Zaxnor roared. "How could those primitive humans defeat us?" Admiral Zorn, still nursing wounds from the battle, stepped forward. "Your Highness, we underestimated them. Their technology, their tactics, they were unlike anything we've ever seen." Zaxnor's eyes narrowed. "Are you admitting failure, Admiral?" Before Zorn could answer, the palace shook. Outside, the sound of explosions filled the air. A guard burst into the throne room. "Your Highness, we're under attack. It's the humans." Zaxnor's eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible. How could they have reached us so quickly?" The answer came in the form of Captain Michael Rodriguez, who suddenly appeared in the middle of the throne room with a squad of Earth's best soldiers. Their weapons were raised, aimed at the Emperor and his advisors. "Hello, Your Highness," Michael said, a grim smile on his face. "We thought we'd return your visit." Back on Earth, in the military command center, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the operation unfold through the soldiers' body cameras. She held her breath, hardly daring to believe their plan had worked. The QED drive, which had been their defensive weapon, was now their greatest offensive tool. With it, they could strike anywhere in the galaxy in an instant. "Emperor Zaxnor," Michael continued, his voice steady. "By the authority given to me by the United Earth Government, I'm here to discuss the terms of your surrender." Zaxnor's face contorted with rage. "Surrender? To you? Never." But even as he spoke, more human soldiers appeared in the palace. On screens around the room, reports came in of human ships appearing throughout the Empire's key worlds. In that moment, Zaxnor realized the truth. The war was over. He had lost. As news of the Emperor's capture spread, The reaction across the galaxy was immediate and profound. On Cerilia, a planet long oppressed by the Empire, the people took to the streets in celebration. Their leaders immediately reached out to Earth, seeking an alliance. In the Andromeda Cluster, a coalition of species that had been planning a rebellion against the Empire for centuries watched in amazement. They sent envoys to Earth, eager to learn from the humans who had accomplished in weeks what they couldn't in millennia. Even the fearsome Cracks, a warrior race that had reluctantly served as the Empire's elite shock troops, were impressed. Their war chief sent a message to Earth. "You fight with honor and cunning. We would be proud to call you allies." Back on Earth, the mood was a mix of jubilation and disbelief. They had not only defended their home, but had also toppled an intergalactic empire. In the White House, the president addressed the world. "Today marks a new era for humanity," he said. "We have proven ourselves on the galactic stage. But with this victory comes great responsibility. We must use our power wisely to build a better galaxy for all species." Dr. Sarah Chen, listening to the speech, felt a mixture of pride and concern. Her invention had saved humanity, but it had also given them immense power. Would they use it wisely? As if reading her thoughts, Captain Michael Rodriguez, freshly returned from his mission, approached her. "Quite a thing we've done, isn't it?" he said softly. Sarah nodded. "I just hope we're ready for what comes next." Michael smiled. "If there's one thing I've learned, it's to never underestimate humanity. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." As they spoke, in laboratory, 5 years had passed since the fall of the Galactic Empire. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. At the center of this change was Earth, once a backwater planet, now the heart of a new interstellar alliance. On a warm summer day, the streets of New York City were filled with beings from 100 different worlds. Tall, willowy Ceruleans walked alongside stocky Cracks warriors. Floating Andromians hovered next to humans going about their daily business. In the newly constructed Galactic Council building, representatives from across the stars gathered for a historic meeting. Dr. Sarah Chen, now Earth's ambassador to the Council, took her seat at the main table. Beside her sat Captain Michael Rodriguez, decorated hero and head of Earth's new interstellar defense force. As the meeting began, a hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. It showed a massive space station orbiting Earth, the new home of the Galactic University of Sciences. "The university has made remarkable progress," a Cerulean representative reported. "The combination of Earth's quantum entanglement technology with Andromian energy manipulation has opened up entirely new fields of study." Sarah nodded, feeling a surge of pride. The decision to share their technology, rather than hoard it, had been controversial, but it had paid off beyond their wildest dreams. As the meeting progressed, Michael leaned over to Sarah. "Hard to believe how far we've come," he whispered. "Remember when we thought we were alone in the universe?" Sarah smiled, but before she could respond, an alarm blared. The room fell silent as an urgent message came through. "Unidentified ships detected at the edge of the solar system," the voice announced. "They don't match any known designs." The room erupted in panic. Was it another hostile empire? A new threat? Michael stood up, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Everyone, remain calm. This is why we formed this alliance. Together, we are stronger than any threat." As if to prove his point, reports started coming in from across the alliance. Cracks warships were moving to defend Earth. Andronian sensors were scanning the unknown vessels. Cerulean diplomats were preparing to make first contact. In orbit above Earth, a massive fleet assembled. Ships of all shapes and sizes, from dozens of worlds, formed a defensive line. At the center was the defiant Aya, Earth's flagship, commanded by Michael. As the unknown ships approached, tension mounted. Then suddenly, they stopped. A message was broadcast across all frequencies. "People of the galaxy," a voice said, "we are the guardians of the cosmic balance. We have watched your rise with great interest. On the Defiance Bridge, Michael and Sarah exchanged glances. Guardians? Cosmic balance. The voice continued. For eons, we have tested emerging civilizations, posing as conquerors to see how they would react. The Galactic Empire was our last such test. They failed, choosing domination and cruelty. But you, led by the humans of Earth, chose differently. The revelation stunned everyone. The Great Galactic Empire, a test. You chose cooperation over conquest, the voice said. You shared your advancements instead of weaponizing them. You built alliances instead of an empire. In doing so, you have proven yourselves worthy. The Guardian ships began to power down, a gesture of peace. We come not as conquerors, but as equals. We offer you membership in the greater galactic community, a federation of advanced civilizations spanning multiple galaxies. In the council chamber, in ships across space, and on planets throughout the Alliance, cheers erupted. They had faced their greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but enlightened. As celebrations began across the galaxy, Sarah turned to Michael, tears in her eyes. "We did it," she said softly. "We really did it." Michael nodded, his own eyes misting over. "We showed them who we really are. Not just humans, but all of us. When pushed to our limits, we chose unity over division, peace over war." As news of the Guardians spread, a new age dawned for the galaxy. The alliance that had formed to face the Empire now stood ready to join an even greater community. And at the heart of it all was Earth, the little blue planet that had changed the course of galactic history, a planet whose people had faced the stars with courage and compassion, and in doing so, had found their true place in the universe. The warning to run had become an invitation to soar, and humanity, along with their new allies, was ready for the greatest adventure of all.